They were once television's most unconventional family, a bold experiment in love, faith, and polygamy. But today, the Brown family from Sister Wives lies in pieces. What began as a story of unity and sisterhood has slowly unraveled into one marked by emotional distance, favoritism, and heartbreak. Christine was the first to walk away, choosing freedom over invisibility in her own marriage. Janelle wasn't far behind, no longer willing to accept being treated like a second-class citizen. Meri, once Kody's original and only legal wife, had been emotionally abandoned long before she was finally released. And now Robyn, often seen as the obedient wife, stands alone as Kody's only remaining partner. But the question remains, at what cost? For over a decade, Sister Wives peeled back the curtain on the rarely seen world of polygamy. Now, it's revealing something even more raw. What happens when control, resentment, and imbalance slowly poison a family from within? I'm Meri, and welcome back to Sister Wives Unmasked, where we dive deep into reality TV's most dramatic stories and break them open to expose their emotional core. If you're as stunned as we are by the Browns' collapse, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single chapter. And if you have thoughts, feelings, or unforgettable moments from this season of Sister Wives, share them in the comments. We're reading every one. Let's get into how it all fell apart. When Sister Wives first aired, the Browns presented a united front for women, one man, and a shared belief that love could multiply rather than divide. Christine, Janelle, Meri, and later Robyn all seemed to embrace their polygamous lifestyle with strength and dignity. They sat together raising their children, defended their choices to a skeptical world, and insisted their bond was unshakable. In those early years, they laughed together, moved across states to protect their family, and openly discussed jealousy, time management, and personal growth, painting a picture of a modern polygamist family defying the odds. But even back then, the cracks were there, just small enough to overlook. Over time, Kody's demeanor began to shift. His leadership, once seen as protective and fair, started feeling rigid, self-centered, and inconsistent. His time with each wife became less balanced. Christine's bright spirit often met resistance and frustration. Janelle's independent nature left her emotionally distant. Meri found herself standing on the outside looking in. And Robyn? She seemed to always be the exception, the wife Kody defended, prioritized, and protected above the rest. Viewers began to notice and ask hard questions. Why did Kody withdraw so sharply from Meri after her catfishing scandal, yet offer endless compassion to Robyn? Why did Christine feel she had to fight for scraps of attention? And why did it seem like a family of five was slowly morphing into a monogamous couple in disguise? What looked like unity was, in hindsight, a delicate balancing act, one that couldn't hold forever. Eventually, the breaking points arrived. One by one, the wives began to question the life they had built and whether staying in it was even worth it. For Christine Brown, the cracks had grown impossible to ignore. What once felt like a warm and accepting family home gradually morphed into a place of loneliness and emotional neglect. Fans watched as Christine, mother of six, seemed to lose her spark. Her once vibrant, optimistic personality dimmed as the years dragged on. Her growing frustration first surfaced in small ways. Quick comments in group settings, concerns she voiced only to be dismissed or ignored. She became the one most willing to challenge Kody, questioning his decisions, his behavior, and the uneven emotional effort he put into each relationship. One of the most revealing moments came when Christine confronted Kody about the lack of intimacy in their marriage. For years, she had felt neglected both emotionally and physically as Kody's attention shifted more and more toward Robyn. Christine spoke openly about how she was constantly pouring effort into a relationship that felt completely one-sided, how her needs were consistently ignored. In confessionals, she admitted her pain and her deep desire not just for physical closeness, but for connection and acknowledgement. It's like he's emotionally absent, she confessed quietly, her words cutting through years of built-up heartache. Yet still, her words fell on deaf ears. Kody, distracted and dismissive, rarely took the time to truly hear her concerns. Christine began to question her worth within the family. She did everything she could to hold things together, but Kody no longer seemed interested in fixing what was broken. Her breaking point came when the family faced critical decisions about their living arrangements. Kody's lack of emotional presence during those conversations, especially when it came to her needs and hopes, solidified for Christine that this family was no longer her home. In one emotional confessional, she finally admitted, "I'm tired of feeling like I don't matter to him." Leaving wasn't a decision Christine made lightly. It came after months of soul-searching, painful moments, and an overwhelming sense of being unseen. But ultimately, her choice to leave Kody and the polygamous family she had once fought so hard to defend was the first domino in what would become the unraveling of the Browns. Next came Janelle's journey, her own confrontation with the painful reality of the Brown family's collapse. Janelle Brown, long seen as the pragmatic and steady anchor of the family, was one of the last to fully acknowledge the dysfunction that had been slowly unraveling their polygamous lifestyle. Known for her quiet resilience and deep commitment to family, Janelle had always been the one to keep the peace and maintain balance. But after the COVID-19 pandemic hit, the veil began to lift. It was during this turbulent period, when the family was forced to confront a crisis over their living arrangements and an increasingly widening divide, that Janelle began to see the fractures clearly. The fallout over housing became a turning point for her. As the pandemic threw everything into disarray, the Browns' plans to build a cohesive, multi-household compound crumbled into confusion. Kody's rigid rules and his growing favoritism toward Robyn only made the situation more unbearable. For years, Janelle had been the one to compromise. She adapted to constantly shifting living arrangements, always putting the family first. But now, the emotional toll was undeniable. Kody's decisions left her feeling more isolated than ever, and her children, once tightly woven into the family fabric, began to feel the sting of his uneven treatment as well. Janelle started to question everything: her role in the family, Kody's leadership, and whether the rules he enforced were serving anyone but himself. Watching Christine find her voice and eventually walk away gave Janelle a mirror. She began reflecting on her own needs and what she truly wanted from life. In interviews, Janelle began to voice a growing sense of independence. "I've been putting everyone else first for so long," she admitted. "I need to start thinking about what's best for me, for my own happiness." Her deepening friendship with Christine, who had already made the difficult decision to leave, only cemented her realizations. The two women had always shared a close bond, but now that bond strengthened as Christine's courage to choose herself became a source of inspiration for Janelle. For the first time in years, Janelle wasn't focused on keeping the family glued together. Instead, she started asking herself what family should look like. One built on equality, respect, and genuine care. She couldn't ignore it any longer. Kody's emotional distance and inflexible rules were the very forces tearing them apart. Janelle's awakening was slow, but it was powerful. She realized it was time to choose herself. Her journey toward independence was just beginning, and from that moment forward, the Brown family dynamic would never be the same. Next, we turn to Meri's struggle, a story of loyalty, heartbreak, and the painful reckoning of her place in the family. Meri Brown's path has been marked by deep emotional isolation and years of quietly held hope. But the truth is, over time, she was slowly and silently pushed to the margins, emotionally discarded not just by Kody, but by the larger family as well. Her relationship with Kody had long been strained, but the infamous catfishing scandal brought their deep rift into sharp focus. After falling victim to an online deception, a catfish posing as a romantic interest, the fallout was devastating. Meri had been vulnerable, seeking connection outside her fractured marriage, but Kody's reaction was not one of understanding. Instead, he responded with anger and a sense of betrayal. Despite Meri's efforts to mend things, the damage was irreversible. Kody's emotional withdrawal became painfully clear, and his unwillingness to work through their issues pushed Meri deeper into isolation. In interviews and confessionals, Meri openly voiced her hurt. often tearfully sharing her deep longing for intimacy, connection, and a true sense of belonging within the family. She had always been loyal. She had always held on, believing that perhaps one day she and Kody could rebuild what they once had. She made countless attempts to reconnect through communication, affection, and persistence. But each time, she was met with cold indifference. Kody's emotional absence grew harder to ignore. There were moments when Meri openly expressed her frustration, saying things like, "I feel invisible," and "I'm just not a priority anymore." And despite her unwavering loyalty, Kody remained distant. Over time, his detachment from Meri only deepened. He had made it unmistakably clear. It was clear that Kody had emotionally separated from Meri. Yet, Meri continued to fight, clinging to the hope of reclaiming the love and attention she so deeply craved, even when it seemed the relationship was far beyond repair. It was heartbreaking to witness someone so loyal, so determined to salvage her marriage, be continuously met with rejection. In her interviews, Meri often expressed a quiet but persistent pain. She had given everything to this family, pouring her heart and years of commitment into it, yet she was always left yearning for something that would never come. Her emotional isolation had become an undeniable reality, one no amount of hope or effort could change. No matter how hard she tried, her loyalty alone was no longer enough to bridge the ever-growing chasm between her and Kody. Meanwhile, Robyn Brown's journey, from the newest and youngest wife to Kody's clear primary focus, became one of the most talked about and divisive elements within the Brown family dynamic. When Robyn first joined the family, she brought a sense of excitement and novelty. But as time passed, the dynamic shifted dramatically. Robyn transitioned from being the new wife to the one who appeared to hold the only fully functioning relationship with Kody, leaving the other wives feeling sidelined, neglected, and overlooked. This shift became even more apparent as Kody's behavior toward Robyn grew increasingly blatant. The other wives couldn't help but notice that Robyn's needs and household always seemed to take priority. While Christine, Janelle, and Meri struggled to maintain a connection with Kody, Robyn seemed to enjoy a quiet privilege. Her home often served as the central gathering place, and Kody's attention was consistently directed toward her, leaving the rest of the wives questioning where they stood in his life. The favoritism wasn't just logistical, it was emotional. Robyn's compliance with Kody's strict rules, her position as the mother of his youngest children, and the clear preferential treatment she received fueled growing frustrations and accusations of manipulation and control. The other wives started speaking out more candidly about the double standards at play. They pointed to how Kody would bend over backwards to accommodate Robyn's preferences while disregarding their own needs and concerns. In moments of raw honesty, Christine, Janelle, and Meri all shared their feelings of being treated differently. Christine, in particular, openly accused Kody of having a favorite wife, even suggesting that Robyn leveraged her influence to sway Kody's decisions in ways that weren't in the best interest of the family as a whole. As these tensions grew, the vision of a united, plural family began to collapse. The dream they had once collectively believed in, a family built on equality and shared purpose, was unraveling, replaced by division and deep-seated betrayal. Kody, for his part, seemed to dismiss these accusations. He brushed off the growing discontent as nothing more than jealousy or misunderstanding. But it was unmistakable. The cracks in the family were widening, with Robyn's ascendance at the center of much of the discord. To the other wives, it wasn't just about favoritism anymore, it was about the betrayal of the very principles they had all vowed to uphold. As tensions reached their peak, Kody's response pivoted sharply toward controlling the narrative. Throughout the later seasons, he relentlessly pushed his own version of events, whether during interviews or the infamous couch discussions. Kody framed himself as the victim, insisting that the collapse of the family was beyond his control. He frequently accused the wives, particularly Christine, of being unreasonable, especially in light of her decision to leave. It became glaringly obvious that Kody had little interest in understanding the wives' perspectives. Instead, he sought to dictate the terms of the story. positioning himself as the one who had been wronged. One of the clearest examples of this came during their final family meetings. As Christine voiced her frustrations and announced her departure, Kody's defensiveness was palpable. Rather than acknowledging her years of hurt, he shifted the focus back to his own feelings, accusing her of abandoning the family. In one striking moment, Kody lamented, "I'm not sure I'll ever get over this," speaking more to his own perceived loss than recognizing Christine's long-standing emotional suffering. The fallout was undeniable. What had once been presented as a tightly knit family was now just a fractured shell of itself. Kody's need to control the situation, coupled with his unwillingness to take responsibility, helped seal the final collapse of what had once seemed like an unbreakable bond. The emotional toll, especially following Christine's departure, left lasting scars on everyone involved. The Brown family, as viewers had known it, was no more. As we look back on the Brown family's journey, it's impossible to ignore the profound emotional cost of power imbalances and favoritism that played out so publicly. What once stood as a symbol of unconventional family unity slowly crumbled under the weight of unspoken pain, unmet needs, and an increasingly desperate grasp at control. Christine's bravery in walking away, Janelle's eventual recognition of her worth, Meri's quiet, heartbreaking struggle, even Robyn's complicated position, all of these have shaped a narrative of deep, personal suffering hidden beneath the surface of a very public life. But what do you think? Could the Browns have saved their family? Or was their collapse inevitable from the start? Comment below with your thoughts and personal experiences. And if you're new to the channel, or haven't subscribed yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button for Sister Wives Unmasked. Stay tuned as we continue exploring the highs and lows of reality TV's most unforgettable families.